Hello and welcome to the New York Institute of Beauty virtual orientation. My name is Megan and I'm going to be narrating this orientation for you. It's going to take just about an hour to get through all of this. I apologize for the length, but we have a lot of important info to get through. I will try to make certain slides and information as interesting as I can, but some things are just factual and a little boring. I do recommend really paying attention to some of these slides, in particular the rules and regulations, as well as the slides on federal financial aid. Those things are full of information that you want to make sure you definitely know before you start class. Once you've gotten to the end of this orientation, there's going to be an acknowledgement button that you did watch this. Make sure you click that so our admissions team knows that you have viewed the mandatory orientation and they will be sending you some documents that you need to sign. It is required that you watch this orientation in its entirety and sign those post-orientation documents prior to starting class. Now get comfortable, get ready, and here is our virtual orientation.
Okay, to kick off this orientation, this is New York Institute of Beauty's mission statement. New York Institute of Beauty is dedicated to the highest level of education for our students and graduates and to the continued accomplishments and success of our graduates so they may find gainful employment in the appearance enhancement fields. Now, pretty much what this means is that our goal is to help you guys work in the beauty industry afterwards. It's kind of what makes us special. It's what makes vocational schools really awesome, in my opinion, is that we're teaching you skills to go work specifically in this trade. So this is just our agenda for today. First, just talking a little bit about us and kind of who we are, followed by we are going to show you the faces of our faculty and staff members. We will then continue on to rules and regulations, how to complete the course, our attendance policies, our holiday calendar, what to expect on your first day, and what to do next. Okay, just a little bit about us. We have been open for over 20 years and we have been dedicated to providing the highest level of education in technology. All of the instructors at New York Institute of Beauty are fully licensed professionals. They come from varying backgrounds. They have experience in a ton of different aspects of our industry, and they're here to give you both the academic and the practical instruction needed to do well in this industry. Our end goal is to provide you guys with the education required in order to go take a state practical exam and a state written exam and pass them both and get your New York State aesthetics license. And we are super looking forward to having you all become more successful New York Institute of Beauty graduates.
We're going to meet the faculty and staff of New York Institute of Beauty. First and most importantly, we have Ms. Linda Giardinello, who is the founder and owner of NYIB and the main director. However, day to day, you will have Ms. Soraya as your campus director. She would not give me a picture, but when you get on site, you will see her walking around the building daily. Following, we have our admissions team. We have Ms. Samara as our main admissions counselor, Ms. Kim as our admissions advisor, and Ms. Anastasia as our admissions coordinator. Every single lady on this team is there to help, guide, and assist you. So should you ever have any questions about any specialty programs or anything about even the course that you're in, feel free to reach out to any one of these three. We have Mr. Jonathan, who's our financial office advisor. He works behind the scenes to make sure that every single one of you who are using any sort of federal financial aid, that all your paperwork and everything goes through okay. We then have Miss Emily, who is our student services. Out of all these faces, she's probably somebody you're going to get to know extremely well. Any questions, concerns, issues you may have, any help with your resume, job placement, that all is going to fall with Miss Emily. She's available to assist you any point that she is on premise. Then we have Miss Kelly, who's the spa manager. You'll see her up front often, and her goal is to make sure that she's doing everything she can to help each of you maximize your potential for success out in the field. We have Miss Humara here, who's our marketing and beauty director. So she is behind the scenes making sure that all of our changes, things that we're putting out, promotional material looks good. And she also helps to run our makeup team. And then we have Miss Rachel, who does our social media. You'll see her often in the classrooms taking pictures, talking to students. She helps take graduate photos, and she makes sure that all of that goes online and on our social media, and hopefully help to promote each of our graduates and the school. Starting off, we have Miss Erica McGrath, who is our lead educator. She ensures that all of the instructors are trained, that the curriculum is the best version it can be, and she's constantly looking for ways to improve the programs and your education. Following that, we have both of our supervising instructors. One, we have Miss Karen Antochi, who's our supervising instructor for the daytime program, and we have Miss Michelle Fiello, who is our supervising instructor during the evening. Both of these women have been teaching for quite a few years. They've done very well for themselves in the industry, and they are two people that feel free to go to at any point if you do have any questions. Next, we have Miss Toby Britton. She is our makeup instructor and also our permanent makeup and microblading instructor. So for those of you who, after completing your aesthetics program, are looking to get into microblading and permanent makeup, Miss Toby is your gal. And then we have Mr. Carlos, who is our main makeup instructor. He teaches our Makeup Designery Beauty Essentials courses. He also comes into all the aesthetics programs during the makeup chapters to do demonstration and some training on how to be a professional makeup artist. We have our aesthetics and advanced aesthetics instructors. Some of these instructors teach virtual, some of them teach on-site clinic, and some of them actually do both. It's our goal that you will have a few different teachers during your time in our programs. We find it's the best way to make sure you get the most well-rounded education that you can experience and learn from different instructors. Each of these wonderful instructors have a background in varying parts of the industry, lots of years of experience, and their overall goal is to help you pass your state boards and become the best esthetician you can be.
Financial aid, the great green mystery. For the next couple of slides, we're going to go over a little bit more information about financial aid and what that means for you once you've started the program. The financial aid process. After class starts, 1 full week of attendance must be posted before awards can be created. Once a student has sat for 30 days and they've maintained SAP, or satisfactory academic progress, aid will be released towards balance. If you have a payment plan through TFC or the Tuition Financing Corporation, payments are set up for you either the 1st or the 15th of the month after you begin the program. Basically, what this slide is letting you know is that financial aid cannot actually be drawn down for you until you start the program. And then once you start the program, we have to make sure that you are attending class. And then at that point, our financial aid officer can move on to the next step. If the financial department is unable to create your awards after you've posted 1 full week of attendance due to an incomplete file, there is a possibility, very strong possibility, you're going to be put on a cash payment plan for the full balance. So really following up with financial aid is key, as without communication, you could potentially graduate owing a lot of money, and there's really no reason for it. Do not be afraid of the financial office. Do not be afraid to have a meeting before, during, or after class. If the door is open, you have the ability to ask questions. You're going to see there's a lot of communication that's going to happen even via text message. So feel free, shoot a text back to anyone in our financial office, to let's say Mr. Jonathan, and say, hey, I have some questions. What's a good time to come down? He'll absolutely let you know. He is in the building Monday through Friday. It's very, very, very important to note, if Miriam or Jonathan in particular reach out by phone, text, or email, please respond ASAP, as many of our issues are time sensitive. What they are doing and all they're looking to do is set you up for success, and in order to do that, you need to communicate back with them. So what does all of this mean? It means that your financial aid journey does not end with you starting class. Rules and regulations. All right, so I'm going to apologize in advance. The next bunch of slides are going to be the bulk of this orientation. And it's really our way of making sure that you have a good idea of what to expect once you start class. Now, a lot of these rules and regulations were created before kind of the chaos of 2020 happened. So there have been a lot of adjustments that have been made, because now some of you guys are going to be distance education, and you're going to have time where you're clinic on site. You will see any of those changes that have been made, but I just want to point out that all the rules and regulations are effective day 1. So you're going to hear me say that a lot through a lot of the upcoming slides. Treat distance education time the same you would as if you're on site. The only real exception to that has to be probably exactly what you're wearing. You don't have to wear your white scrubs while you're distance, and we'll get to that slide. But other than that, every other rule applies whether you are sitting at home at your kitchen table on a computer, or you're sitting in clinic on site in a full set of scrubs about to take a client. Based upon COVID-19 rules and regulations, there have been some adjustments and changes to some of our day-to-day operations. Many of these changes can be read in red on the following pages. Please note, these rules and regulations are subject to change at any time. If they do change, we will be sure to make sure that every single student is aware of them, but some of the changes will be a little bit out of our hands.
All right, the following is a list of prohibited items and/or activities. Number 1, the use of cell phones by students is not allowed unless previously approved by a school official. This rule is obviously for the on-site students more. If you are doing distance education, you may use your phone or any other electronic device needed to effectively participate in learning. The recommendation from MindTap is to use a Windows device for their program. They said it doesn't always work as well as they would like it to on a Mac or Apple product. 2, because of consumer protection laws and client privacy, the use of any recording device, either audio or video, or the taking of photographs in the student clinic is strictly prohibited. There are times that our social media will come around to the classrooms and ask to take pictures. If that does occur, every student is asked if they would be okay with being in the pictures or the video. You sign off on a release form. Nobody's picture or image will be taken without your approval. If we catch students with their cell phones out in clinics, they will be asked to put them away. If they continuously take them out, they may be suspended and told to go home for the day. Please do not take your cell phones out unless your instructor is having you look something up specifically. 3, smoking is not permitted inside any part of the building. Smoking is only permitted during breaks and must occur outside of the building, standing completely clear of entrances. This includes vaping and any other form of electronic cigarettes. If we catch you in the hallways or the bathrooms, we may suspend and potentially terminate you. Also, again, you have to stand clear of entrances. I know there are some winter months, it gets very cold. Does not mean you can stand in the doorways. Please also be courteous. If you do take a smoke break or you do go out to lunch and you do have a cigarette, make sure you are washing your hands and changing your jackets. Again, we want to be very careful and cautious of sensitivities to smell that students and clients may have.
Food and beverages are not allowed in any classroom. Bottled water is the one exception. As of November 2020, all classrooms on site at NYIB have been converted to clinic classrooms. During lunch or snack breaks, students must leave their assigned clinic classrooms to eat. There is absolutely no food allowed inside a clinic. Possession, use, selling, dispensing of any drugs or alcohol on school property will not be tolerated. This policy will be very enforced and may result in immediate termination. Please do not ever let us catch you with any of these items on campus. Solicitation in general is not allowed at New York Institute of Beauty. This is for the protection of fellow students. If you are selling anything, keep that outside of school. Don't try to pressure any classmates or instructors or anything to maybe purchase whatever it is that you are selling. And finally, any damage to school property, including equipment, by a student will be charged to that student's account. Now, let's be honest, in over 20 years of existence, we have never charged any equipment damage to a student to their account, but that's because in 20 plus years, no student has ever purposely broken anything. So we get it. We have well over 200 students a year who participate in our program and are going through clinic and touching our machines and touching the tools. The lifespan of some of our equipment and supplies, not as long as they might be elsewhere. If anything does break, if a bed feels loose, if a magnifying lamp is not staying where it should be, if one of the carts feels like it's a little shaky, let your instructor know so that we may look into either fixing that piece of equipment or replacing it. As long as nobody purposely breaks anything, you should be okay. No student will leave the classroom while class is in session unless permitted to do so by the instructor. So that means if you're an on-site clinic student, you're not just going to get up and walk out of your clinic classroom and disappear. We are clock hour, so if you are not in your classroom for an extended period of time and your teacher doesn't know where you are and you have not been permissioned to leave, you run the risk of being docked time. If a student must leave school during their scheduled session, it is essential that they inform their instructor. Same thing, if maybe you get a text message or a call or you know you have to leave early for an appointment from school and you're an on-site clinic student, make sure to let your teacher know, don't just leave. Both of these rules are true for distance education students as well. Since engagement is monitored closely so that we can grant you the hours, you must let your teacher know via email if you're going to be missing any scheduled class time, even if distance. Treat distance education the same you would as if you were on site for clinic. So if you end up having an appointment during the day and it's 2 o'clock and you're a 9 to 3:30 student, let your teacher know, hey, I have an appointment at 2 o'clock. You will be docked for the time, the same as if you were on site and left for a 2 o'clock appointment. During the day programs, students may only leave the building and grounds during the assigned 30-minute lunch period. The school is not responsible for the activities undertaken during this lunch period, and all students must return on time or be charged with absent hours if late. During the evening program, students are prohibited from leaving the building and grounds area. So if you're an on-site clinic student and you're a daytime student, you are going to get a half an hour for lunch. You get a half an hour, that's it. You're going to clock out and you're going to clock in for that half an hour. That half an hour is the same even if you are a distance education student. You're going to get a half an hour. Clock in, clock out. Please note, due to classroom reconfiguration in accordance with the health and safety guidelines from COVID-19, all classrooms on site have been converted into clinics. Due to this, all students on site at this time must take their 30-minute lunch break outside of their classroom. There is no food or drink allowed in a clinic space, ever, ever. That's a big major rule. There is currently no designated lunch area in the building, so many students choose to go out to eat maybe in their cars. If it's a nice day, they hang out outside in one of the grassy areas. Totally up to you, but you cannot have your lunch break inside your classroom.
All absences, including but not limited to illness, car trouble, inclement weather, or family emergency, must be called in. There are no excused absences, so all absences will be recorded in the attendance book. Pretty much that just means that it doesn't really matter what the reason is that you might miss a day of class. It's considered an absence in the book according to New York State. If you can, definitely let us know if you're not going to make class. It just makes it easier for your teacher to plan for the day. Makeup work will be scheduled as soon as it's practical for both the student and the school. Pretty much what that means is whatever information you missed that day, let's say it was an exam, you may not take that exam the very next day in class, but you will take it as soon as there is time allotted in the schedule. We move at a pretty rapid pace, especially in theory, so it's why we definitely recommend having the best attendance you possibly can, because it does get a little hard to play catch up. During clinic time, students will work on the general public or on other students. A student who refuses to participate in clinic will be sent home. What this means is during your clinic time, you must be doing clinic work in order to gain those hours, whether it's working on fellow students, a client, family, friends, anything like that. If you are scheduled to do that work, you must participate in order to get the clinic hours. At this time, NYIB is not requiring vaccinations for students. It is our recommendation, however, that students get tested at their discretion simply due to the nature of the services that we provide. You are providing facials, waxing, makeup, and sometimes you're going to get close to each other. Even with the masks and the shields, sometimes it's better safe than sorry. As a reminder, if at any point a student feels unwell, you should follow all CDC COVID-related guidelines and protocols, including the ones specifically at NYIB, and we'll touch back on that in a couple of slides. The following is a list of regulations with which a student must comply in order to be deemed prepared for class. It is essential that these rules are followed in order to receive credit for the hours in that particular session. At all times, students must have their required kit, books, uniform, and all necessary tools to partake in class for the day. If you are a student who enrolled prior to September 1st of 2021 NYIB will supply the tools necessary for learning in the clinic, as you did not purchase the new student kits on your contract. Students who enrolled prior to September 1st, 2021, you are responsible for putting together your whole own State Board practical kit. That should begin in theory with the kit being finalized in clinic. However, if you enrolled after September 1st, 2021, you did receive the new kit as a part of your enrollment. These kits, which include Dermalogica, Makeup Designery, if you're in Advanced Aesthetics, the PCA kits, you're going to bring those on site with you every day. You will use those kits for hands-on learning. You will not need to use them for any client work. And a large portion of what is in those kits will make up what you need for your State Board practical. You'll have a couple little things here and there that you'd have to purchase, but the majority of your State Board practical kit can be made from the student kits you received as a part of your enrollment. As per the CDC and New York State Department of Health guidelines, all on-site students must wear a facial mask 24/7 in our clinics. If you are outside during lunch, if you are in the bathroom, you may take those masks off if you feel comfortable, but inside all of our clinic spaces, masks are worn 24/7. You will also wear a face shield when performing any services on live skin. Students participating in distance education do not need to wear their uniform daily, but are expected to be presentable. In a few slides, we will discuss what that means. There is a list of supplies needed for the State Board on the NYIB app. As you learn each portion of the exam in theory, you should start preparing and buying your own supplies for the kit. NYIB has many of these items for sale for very reasonable prices. We also recommend getting supplies from the dollar stores, Amazon, Michaels, and more. A lot of times students will purchase many of these disposables in bulk and split the cost amongst each other. Quick edit to the State Board. As of September 2020, the New York State practical exam has been altered due to COVID-19. Some of these changes include mannequin heads, plastic arms, removal of certain steps. NYIB will always teach all students the version of the state exam given at the time. This is also why you will find you will be doing a lot of work on mannequin heads as well in your program, and that's to prepare for the State Board. Students are responsible for their own personal property, kit, and books, regardless of where they are left. Do not leave property in the school overnight. We have daytime students and evening students, and a lot of us have very similar looking items, whether it's our kits, our textbooks, and it can get very chaotic trying to figure out who's whose. So if you do accidentally leave something, definitely give the school a call as soon as you realize, but please do yourself a favor, remember all your supplies every day when you leave. Students may consult with student services on all personal or school problems during school hours. That is Monday through Friday, and student services hours vary each day. You can reach them by emailing them at studentservices@nyib.edu. Our policy is that almost any and all questions should always go directly to student services. Even if they're not the ones with the answers, they will be the one to ensure that your question goes to the correct department and will help follow up and follow through and make sure that you have been assisted. If a student has any COVID-related issues, they've come in contact, they have questions, etc., you must email covidinfo@nyib.edu. Please do not email your teacher. Do not even email student services. Always email the covidinfo@nyib.edu email. You will receive an auto reply that has a questionnaire that you must fill out, along with our guidelines and rules and regulations. All COVID-related issues must go through that COVID info email in order to properly manage and take care of it.
Okay, in case you guys aren't sick of it, here are some more general school rules. So this slide has to deal with schedule changes. Students may request to change their schedule one time during their course of enrollment. Maybe you're a full-time day student and something happens in your life and you need to move to part-time. If you send that request and it is approved, you will receive a new contractual graduation date. You will have paperwork that will be completed by both school administration and yourself, and any hours that you earned, including absent hours, will carry with you and transferred over to your new schedule.
Any student not complying with the school's policies and procedures may be expelled or suspended from the program. Any behavior deemed to be misconduct by the school director, including but not limited to excessive absenteeism, rudeness, interruption of class, or other behavior not deemed acceptable, may result in immediate termination. Please note, suspensions do not affect a student's absent hours. It is important to remember this rule. If for any reason a student is not meeting our requirements, whether they be attendance, behavior, our standards, etc., we have the right to withdraw you from the program. As far as suspensions go, a student may be suspended from class from 1 hour up to any number of hours depending upon the regulation broken and how often this has been done. The student will not receive credit for attendance or achievement during that time. However, you will also not accumulate any absent time or incur any charges. If you are suspended, that is an addendum to your contract. So your graduation date, your contracted graduation date, will be extended by the amount of time that you are suspended for. Suspension and leave of absences are the only two reasons that your contractual graduation date would be pushed out. And again, it's just important to remember we are no different than any other university or college. If you, as a student, are not meeting the expectations and the requirements that we have set forward and that we have agreed upon in your enrollment agreement, we may withdraw you from the program.
So again, we're a clock hour program. So one of the things that I think is beneficial for students is if they think of themselves in hours versus days when it comes to their schedule. For example, if you are a part-time day student, don't think of yourself as having school 3 days a week. Think of yourself as having school for 18 hours per week. Now, if students come to class late, if students leave early, if students are out of the classroom during class session for a large period of time, all of those things can affect the hours that they receive credit for. Each student is scheduled to receive 6 hours a day or 4 hours a day, but you could get less. Based upon what time you sign into class, there are 30-minute markers. In the next slide, it goes into a little bit more detail and hopefully it's a little bit more clear, but just know that if you sign in late or you leave class early, that you are going to actually get less hours that day.
Okay, here's a little lateness cheat sheet. Some students will take a screenshot of this page and keep it for future reference. But if you sign into class between 9 a.m. and 9:10 or 6 p.m. and 6:10, you are not dock time. It's important to note you're still considered late if you're here after 9 a.m. or 6 p.m. You just won't lose any time for it. But don't get into the habit of coming during that 10-minute window. Be in class ready to go 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. And then as you see here, if you arrive between, let's say, 9:11 and 9:30 or 6:11 and 6:30, you're going to be docked a half an hour. The next half an hour block gives you an hour, up to an hour and a half. Important to note, if you are going to log into any session and it's at least halfway through the session, you're actually going to be docked the entire time, so it may not be worth it for you to log in at all. What that means is for the morning, if you're logging in after 10:31, or in the evening you were going to log in after 8:01, you're going to be docked the entire time for that session. Daytime students, though, because you have a break in the middle of the day for lunch, you can attend one session while not being in the other session. So it may make more sense for you to sign on immediately upon the end of lunchtime and gain your afternoon hours. All of these lateness time cutoffs are both for online and on-site students, and they also go in reverse. So if you leave early, the same policy happens.
Do these attendance policies apply to distance education students? Resounding yes. We are a clock hour program. So some of you are signed up for a 600-hour aesthetics program. Some of you are in the 900-hour advanced. Some of you may be a transfer into advanced and you only have 300 hours here. Whatever it is, your program, if you notice, they each have a certain number. That's how many hours it takes to complete. You do not complete the program based only on work. So we're not credit hour. It's not, hey, do the following X, Y, and Z assignments and you pass. First and foremost, it's hours. In addition to hours, it is assignments, quotas, things of that nature. So whether a student is distance or on site, your schedule is your schedule. If you're 9 to 3:30, 3 or 5 days a week, or if you're 6 to 10, 3 days a week, that is the time you are supposed to be in class. Your engagement has to be the same, whether you are a distance student or you are on site. If you are late to participate in distance and you get dock time, that's it. It's the same as if you showed up to class physically late by an hour. If you are a distance student, you will have engagement points throughout your day or evening, in addition to your live Zoom meetings and timed assignments. It is important that each student shows active participation during the scheduled class time, or you risk being docked hours. Long stretches of no participation are treated just like if someone on site just walked out of class for an extended period of time. Remember, completed work alone does not equal earned hours. So, if you are given an hour or 2 hours to complete an assignment and you submit it in 5 minutes and there is no further engagement, you are going to get docked time. Because what were you doing? Very similar to if you were in class and you finished an assignment that was given an hour in 5 minutes, you would be given other work in that classroom to fulfill. If you finish something super early and you're a little like, well, what do I do now? Reach out to your teacher. They'll have other assignments for you to do. Can I work, attend appointments, bake a cake, anything like that during class time if I'm a distance education student? No. Whether a student is distance or on site, your schedule is the same and participation requirements are the same. You're going to hear this a lot. If during part of your enrollment you're scheduled as a distance education student, you're still committing to school, 9 to 3:30, 6 to 10. You should treat distance education days the same as you would if you were on site and be 100% present and engaged. Remember, your live Zoom sessions, the camera is going to be on, they are being recorded, your teacher is going to see you. If we see you being a distraction, if we see you and your attention is elsewhere, we have a problem with that and we're going to let you know, hey, that's unacceptable. If you're not able to hand in assignments and you're not doing the engagements and we find out it's because you're doing appointments, you're at work, you're doing these other things, again, you're going to get docked time. It's very important you set aside your schedule so that you are 100% present and committed during distance education the same way you plan to be when you are on site for the clinicals portion.
On this slide, we're going to discuss one of the most important attendance policies, and that is the consecutive absentee policy. What it means is if a student is absent for 14 calendar days in a row, the student will automatically be terminated from the program on the next business day. The only exception to this attendance rule is a student who's on an approved leave of absence. Remember, leave of absences have to be approved by the director and ahead of time. Attendance is monitored daily and weekly, and this information is made available to you upon attendance input into the app, typically every Monday or Tuesday for the previous week. It's important to note because students will get this wrong sometimes. Your first date of absence begins the clock. So even if, let's say, you're a part-time day student, and so you're in school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're absent Wednesday, that's day 1. Thursday and Friday, day 2, day 3. It's 14 consecutive calendar days from your first absence. So you must show attendance within 14 consecutive calendar days. It is not 14 class sessions, which sometimes students will think. But then I say to them, hey, if you're a part-time day student who's only here 3 days a week, don't you think it'd be a little odd if you missed a full month of school? And then usually they go, oh, you're right. 14 calendar days consecutively in a row does make more sense. So again, just make sure if you are ever absent, you must return to school within 14 consecutive calendar days or the system will automatically withdraw you. And that is in fact to protect you as a student. So this slide goes over our leave of absence policy. So leave of absence is the only time a student is going to be granted the ability to miss 14 consecutive calendar days. We allow for students to take a leave of absence when extenuating circumstances warrant such an interruption in study. It will be granted for 14 calendar days, and you have a maximum of 2 that you can take. You may take them together, you may take them separately. But it's important to note, there's a maximum of 2 14-day leaves of absence in any program. In order to get on an approved leave of absence, you must apply for them, And oftentimes you don't get approved unless the situation really warrants it. If you email saying, hi, I need a leave of absence because I'm going on vacation, you will be denied. If you email that you need a leave of absence because you need a medical procedure, you're taking care of a sick family member, you got into a car accident, those are instances where we would approve them. In order to get on a leave of absence, you do have to submit that in writing to both the school director and student services. During your leave of absence, you will pause your program, which means during that time, you will accrue no actual or scheduled hours. Your contractual graduation date will be extended out by the same length of time as your leave of absence. Remember, a leave of absence and a suspension are the only times contractually your graduation date would change. If for some reason a student must go on quarantine and it's due to COVID-19, that is the exception to the 14/28 day leave of absence policy. COVID LOAs do not count towards that maximum length of time. They are a separate leave of absence. In order to get approval for the COVID-19 LOA, students must email covidinfo@nyib.edu and follow the questionnaire and the directions. Now this page is very important. As per your signed enrollment agreement, the school will charge additional tuition for hours remaining after the contract ending date at a rate of $17.49 per hour until course completion. Once a student reaches their contracted graduation date and they've not yet met all of their requirements, whether it's theory, so it's exams, projects, services, or their actual hours, the student may be given a grace period to make up those hours or assignments during which they're not required to pay any extra instructional charges, otherwise known as overtime. When you enrolled, your admissions counselor would have gone over what that looks like. As of today, our grace period is 5% of every program. That means if you are in a 600-hour aesthetics program, you get 30 extra instructional hours or overtime hours at no additional fee. If you're in the Advanced Aesthetics 900-hour full-time program, you get 45 hours. Once you've gone past your grace period, whether you are in Advanced Aesthetics or regular aesthetics, you will be charged the $17.49 per hour. Remember, you own your seat for a contracted length of time based upon schedule and program clock hours. If you are here past when you should have graduated, and that's due to you accruing absent time, you are in overtime and out of contract. If you took anything like a leave of absence, that changes your contracted graduation date because you have been paused during that time. But again, we are no different in a lot of ways than a college or university. If you have not completed everything you needed to have completed by the quote-unquote graduation day, we will allow you to continue coming until you finish, but if you are here past that grace time period, you will be charged overtime fees, and that is because you are in a seat that should be now for the next student, and you are here just longer than you should be. Overall, our recommendation, don't do it. Stay within your grace period, come to school, don't miss too much. Again, we're not like a university where you'd fail a class and have to take it all again from scratch the next semester, but we don't want to charge you overtime fees, so just have good attendance. Maximum time frame. So this is an incredibly important federal regulation. As quoted from our school catalog, students are required to complete the program and/or course within 150% of the published program length. Pretty much what this means is that if a student does not successfully graduate the program within time and a half or 150% of the length of their program, a couple of big changes have to occur. So like we mentioned on previous slides, unlike a college or university, if you are not fully graduated and successful and have done everything you need by your contracted graduation date, we do not automatically withdraw you. We do give you the ability to continue to come until you can complete the program, but there is a limitation to that. If you are in the 600-hour aesthetics program, that's going to be 900 scheduled hours. And if you are in the 900-hour advanced aesthetics program, that's going to be 1,350 scheduled hours. If you are in the transfer program for advanced aesthetics and you only have 300 scheduled hours to go, that's going to put you at 450 scheduled hours. At each of those points, if you have reached that and you have not completed the program, this is what happens. You reached maximum time frame. 1, you will automatically be dropped from the program. That is because you have taken too long to finish. A student may request to be reinstated. This is not guaranteed. However, if a student is approved, all of the previous information, including hours, grades, etc., will be carried over. This includes those absent hours. So again, if you've reached 900 scheduled hours, that means you have at least 300 absent hours on your account. So all of those charges are going to come right along with you. You will also not be able to apply for any additional federal financial aid for your program. So you will be set up on a cash pay basis in order to make the necessary payments to continue on with your program. Again, this is an extremely long amount of time to be in these programs. It's very rare that this happens, but it is important to understand that although we do give you leeway to be here past your contracted date, there does come a limitation to that. Note, this does not mean NYIB does not have the ability to terminate a student's enrollment prior to reaching maximum time frame. Don't forget, we can do that, especially once you are past your contract. If we feel as though a student cannot be successful due to continued increased absences, behavior issues, things of that nature, we could end your enrollment. Okay, everyone, stop right there. Stop what you're doing. I know we're quite a few minutes into this orientation, and that was just a lot of potentially very boring stuff, but it was incredibly important. So please take a moment. If you were not particularly paying attention in the last few slides where we discussed things like attendance rules, policies, overtime charges, potential termination, anything like that, I recommend rewinding this slideshow just a little bit and reviewing those over again because those slides are incredibly, incredibly important for you to know. Also, I like GIFs.
Now we're going to get into our dress code. But please note, during distance learning, you will not be required to comply with this dress code. However, the following rules on dress code will be effective immediately upon returning to in-school education. All students should be prepared to come to school fully ready to go, including their uniform and appearance on the first day of in-school education. Okay, so now we're going to get into the dress code that is expected once we are back on campus. Please note, any student who does not comply with this dress code will be sent home and not receive hours for the day. So to begin with, you will have a uniform that you will be required to wear every day that will consist of a white shirt, white scrub pants, white lab coat, white shoes, white socks, and a school-issued name badge. Please make sure that your white scrub pants are scrub pants, no jeans, no leggings. Your white lab coat must be at least 1/4 length sleeves. And with your white shoes, they must be all white. They must be sneakers or nursing shoes. The shirt that you are wearing under your lab coat must be plain white. No patterns, no drawings, no writings, or any other designs. Be cautious of anything you might be wearing under the school uniform. Nothing dark and nothing brightly colored. All sweaters and sweatshirts must also be white. So if it's a cold day out, and you know that, hey, you get a little bit chilly, feel free to bring a white sweatshirt or a white sweater with you for class. But remember, they must be all white. In the New York Institute of Beauty School store, we do sell white fleece vests and sweatshirts that can be purchased, but you can also find that anywhere online. Your uniform in general can be found at any local uniform supply store. They can also be found online at uniform stores as well as Amazon. So again, with your uniform, your shoes cannot have open toe or open heel. There are no hats, headbands, or bandanas permitted. Scarves of any type, not allowed. Hair must be worn up or pulled back during clinic time with a clear or hair-colored tie. Students must have clean, short nails. Your nails may not extend the nail bed and may not extend past the fingertips. No polish, no tips, no wraps are permitted. This does include clear polish. Your nails must be free of any and everything. Students may not wear heavy perfumes or colognes, and no hand jewelry is permitted with the exception of wedding rings. In general, no earrings or jewelry of any kind, again, exception wedding rings, are permitted. False eyelashes are also not recommended during the clinic phase of this program. Okay, here's just a little of what we expect for those of you on distance education. Students during distance education will be required to participate in your daily live Zoom learning sessions. You're going to do these at least twice per session. These are recorded and they are stored, and this is for state and accrediting audits. During these sessions, your cameras must be turned on. This is to be able to prove student identity. It's not good enough for the Department of Education or for New York State to just say, well, I typed in my name. There needs to be a face so that we can prove you are actually sitting, you are learning, you are engaged, and this way we can prove to New York State, see, that student was sitting there, they were paying attention, they did get this information. Now, while you guys are not required to wear a uniform during distance education, please dress appropriately for class time. This means no pajamas, no nudity, no clothing with inappropriate or foul language, etc. You may not have to wear white scrubs, but put on a basic t-shirt, a sweater, anything like that, you're good to go. Think about where you are having distance education, where you're learning. You should be sitting at attention in an environment conducive to learning. Do not be laying down in bed, underneath a pile of blankets. Please do not be surrounded by a lot of distractions. One, it's not good for you. You're really not maximizing your education with that. Two, it can be a big distraction to those around you who are also participating in the live Zoom. If you have a lot of kind of movement and things going on, somebody, their eyes are going to be pulled towards you and maybe they're not going to be paying attention to the instructor or the PowerPoint that's going on. Lastly, must make sure, every student, please make sure that your entire face is clearly visible in your Zoom screen. Make sure your lighting's good enough and that the screen is not so close to you that, all we're seeing is an eyeball or anything like that. Again, we have to be able to prove each student in school, whether you're in school or you're online, so to be able to prove that it's you online, we need to be able to see your full face on your Zoom screen. And here we have the list of holidays observed by New York Institute of Beauty. They include New Year's Day, Martin Luther King Day, President's Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Columbus Day, Thanksgiving Day, and Christmas Day. Please note, these holidays were built into our system and were taken into account when calculating your graduation dates. For those of you that are interested in participating in the New York Institute of Beauty makeup team, remember we do participate in a variety of events, including fashion shows, television, film, as well as charity events like pediatric prom, senior citizen homes, things of that nature. If you would like to sign up for the team, on our website there is a section entitled Want to Get Involved. Click on that and reach out to Miss Humera, who does run the makeup team. She will be able to help set you up so that you will be in the know of all of our future events. This is a great way to build your resume and portfolio while still in school. This slide here just mentions a few of the courses that we do offer here at New York Institute of Beauty that may be of something that will interest you going down the line in your career. They include oncology trained aesthetics, permanent makeup and microblading, beauty essentials and our other makeup designery courses, advanced aesthetics, and eyelash extensions. If any of these courses you would like more information on, feel free to reach out to our admissions team and they would love to give you more information. Course completion. We're almost at the end, guys. Students will receive their final state licensing paperwork and certificate of course completion upon fulfilling the following requirements. All monies must be paid in full, all theory and practical requirements must be completed, and required grades must be achieved and all hours must be completed. Pretty much what this means is, have you hit all your hours? Is your quota sheet done? Have you passed every exam with at least a 75? And do you have a $0 balance with the school? If all of those things are a yes, then on the day that you hit your 600 hour, you will receive your graduation paperwork and all the necessary documentation to go to New York State, fill out your application, and sign up for state board exams. There is a $25 fee for the issuing of duplicate paperwork and $25 fee for the issuing of duplicate certificate of graduation. If attempts to collect a student's documented debt prove unfruitful, the student's information and record of that debt may be sent to a professional collection agency. Any collection fees and/or attorney fees that are incurred while attempting to collect that debt will be added to your account balance. If you don't already, please follow the school on all of its social media platforms. It's a great way to see kind of what's going on with the school all the time, and we post a lot of fun content on there.
Expect on your first day. So for your first day across the board, you will be starting with distance learning education. So what's going to happen is that every day you're going to start your morning in Zoom and MindTap. So you're going to want to sign on to both of those programs at the beginning of your class time, whether that's 9 a.m. or 6 p.m. You are going to sign in to your assigned Zoom chat room, and you're going to do that by writing your first name, last name, sign in. You're also going to participate, and then when you sign out, you'll write first name, last name, signed out. And if you are a daytime student who is going to lunch, you're going to sign back in from lunch, sign out at the end of the day. You're going to receive more detailed instructions on how to do this with your post-orientation documents. When you come pick up your textbook bundles, you will have your login information for MindTap for your NYIB email, and a couple of days before class, your teacher will email you with all of your Zoom codes. It's important to remember that those Zoom codes should be kept private. They are only for students and instructors. For your first day of in-school education, the day is going to feel similar, but also very different. On that day, you are going to arrive on time, again, 9 a.m. or 6 p.m. You're going to dress in your full white uniform, white scrub pants, white lab coat, white shirt, white socks, white sneakers, hair pulled up, nails free of any polished tips, acrylics, anything, no jewelry. You're going to have a name badge. You will get that your first week coming on site. Once you get that name badge, you're going to want to wear that going forward. You're going to sign into your assigned classroom. So whatever classroom you have been sent to, that's going to be the same classroom you're going to go to every day. So you'll walk in, your teacher will assist you in signing in. You'll participate in clinic that day. If you're a daytime student, you're going to sign out and sign back in from lunch. If you're an evening student, you'll just sign out at the end of the day, and daytimers, you'll again sign out for the end of the day. What to expect during your program. So as you all are aware, we run our programs currently in a hybrid style, which means you are going to start in theory and do a week virtual followed by a week on site. During this time, you will do your first week online via distance education, and this is where you're going to take your exams, worksheets, projects, etc. And then the following week, you're going to come on site and do theory clinic work that goes hand in hand with the theory that you just learned. At about 2/3 of the way through your program, so about 480 scheduled hours or 780 scheduled hours, you will then end all of your every other week with theory and come on site every week for your final clinic. Once you come on site every week consistently, at that point, we're really going to focus on your state board exams, your quota sheets, things of that nature. Okay, here's just some key information that everybody should remember. 1. All students are assigned a school-issued nyib.edu email address. This email address must be used for all school-related communication. It's both for cybersecurity, it's to make sure none of our messages are going to your spam, we don't want anything getting lost. So once you start school, you're going to have a school-issued NYIB email address, which is going to be your last name, your first initial, and your student ID number. You're going to receive that email address and that password when you pick up your textbook bundle. Students during distance education will be participating in daily live classroom sessions using Zoom. Your instructor will reach out to you with your Zoom meeting ID and password a few days before class starts. You must have a Zoom account. I know many of us do at this point, but just make sure you have that already downloaded, logged in. It's all good to go prior to your first day of class. You will be utilizing MindTap, which is the online platform for Milady's textbook and workbook. It's where you'll be doing a lot of your e-classroom assignments. Again, when you pick up your textbook bundle, we will give you your personal login information for MindTap. We will pre-register your MindTap account with your nyib.edu school-issued email address. This way it's kind of simple, easy, makes sense, you can get in everywhere. Students are not allowed to complete more than 50% of their program via distance learning, so that's just so that you know you won't do more than 150, 300, 450 hours of distance education. The remainder is going to be done on site. Occasionally, due to COVID quarantines, we may get special approval for you to go virtual during a time when you are a clinic student, but those are individual cases that we have to get approval for each time. Finally, if at any point guidelines or regulations change that affect your enrollment at NYB, you will be notified. This last year, plus we're getting into the second year of this, we've seen things change often. We just ask that every student remember that if changes occur, NYB is going to do our best to seamlessly accommodate the changes and make it as easy, painless, and really in your best interest. Are you registered to vote? If you require assistance, please email any of our administrators after watching this orientation. This is a student referral list. As Student Services, if you ever have any concerns or issues or need to talk, I am available to you. However, this is a list of places that you can go to speak to trained professionals on all different areas of concern. This list can also be found in your app. If you have not done so already, please download the NYIB New York Institute of Beauty app. You can find this in your app store by searching NYIB, and you'll see it's got our maroon and white, and it's got our school logo on it. Once you download that app, you're just going to want to activate it. To activate it, you are going to use the email address that you registered for school with, not your school-issued email address. Your school-issued email address is not going to be up and running until you actually start school. If you have any issues with this, you can reach out to Student Services and we'll be happy to help you. You are required to download and have access to this app 24/7. This app is where you're going to track your progress, your hours, your grades, things of that nature. You can directly message staff and staff members will directly message you. We'll put events on there. There's a lot of things on there that you're going to want to have access to, so just make sure you've downloaded that. Once you've completely watched this entire orientation PowerPoint, there is going to be an acknowledgement button that you are going to check off. Once you do that, our admissions team is going to be notified that you have viewed this orientation. At that point, we are going to send you some documents that do have to be electronically signed. It's going to be a copy of the rules and regulations that we've gone over, some distance learning guidelines that mention things like the 50% marker, and that when you are doing clinic, you are going to be required to come to our Islandia campus, confirmation of orientation, and one other addendum that is COVID related. All of these forms must be completed prior to beginning your program. Failure to complete any of these documents may result in an inability to start class. Once you finish this orientation, if you have not been sent the post-orientation documents within 2 to 3 days, business days, I should specify, we are closed on the weekend, 2 to 3 business days, feel free to reach out to admissions and just let them know. There's a chance that they missed that notification that you completed the orientation. Important checklist. Before you begin class, there are a few steps that need to be completed. It is very important that you complete every one of these things or your start date may have to be delayed. 1. Make your first payment that covers your books, kit, and your first week's tuition. The balance that you specifically owe based on the program you enrolled for is going to be in the body of the email that was sent to you with this orientation link. Also, your due date is going to be there for when that payment is due. After that due date, you're going to have a date that you are to pick up your textbook bundle. Again, within that email, there should be a textbook pickup day, and admissions will reach out to give reminders. When you come pick up your textbook bundle, You're also going to get information for your nyib.edu email address, as well as your fully set up MindTap. You must also download and activate your NYIB app. We talked about that a couple slides back. Do not forget, you are going to activate this with your personal email, not your NYIB one. The NYIB app is linked to our student management program, which we created when you enrolled. And finally, finishing up your financial aid. This one, super important. So if you have anything left to do with the financial aid office, whether it has to do with a TFC or a interest-free payment plan, or it has to do with federal student loans, make sure you've completed everything they are asking of you. If after viewing this orientation, you have any additional questions or concerns, comments, anything, feel free to reach out to anybody on the admissions team. After viewing this orientation, you will also receive an email from somebody in admissions with mandatory post-orientation document paperwork. Those things must be signed for you to start. If you do not get these documents within 2 business days of completing orientation, reach out to somebody on our team. I want to wish you all the best of luck going forward in this program. I am here for every one of you if you need anything, and I look forward to each of you being another New York Institute of Beauty success story.